Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's episode of our podcast, Story d'Italia. If you're new, I'm Caity, this is my co-host Brooke, and this week we'll be discussing the founding of Rome and how the story of Romulus and Remus upholds Rene Girard's mimetic theory of desire and the scapegoat mechanism. We've got some photos to show you to help improve your experience.
Let's begin by firstly taking a step back in time to 794 BC, where the story of Romulus and Remus is set into motion. We're in Alba Longa, a city in the southwest of Italy, and King Procus has just died. His intended successor, Numitor, was overthrown by his twin brother Amulius, who had inherited control over the city's treasury, which he used to take the throne. Amulius took action to secure his place as king by eliminating potential threats, imprisoning Numitor, and ordering the murder of his nephew, and arranging for his niece, Rhea Silvia, also known as Ilia, to become a Vestal Virgin. This meant that even though Rhea was not imprisoned or dead, she was to be a priestess of Vesta, bound to a vow of chastity, and charged with tending to a sacred fire never to be extinguished. There shouldn't have been a possibility for her to conceive children. But guess what, Caity?
What?
She had kids. Twin boys, Romulus and Remus.
What? How? That shouldn't be possible.
It's said that she was raped by an unknown man, though Rhea had claimed it was the god Mars himself that got her pregnant, and other accounts argue that her partner was the demigod Hercules. As quoted by Titus Livy, whatever the truth of the matter, neither gods nor men could save her or her babes from the savage hands of the king. Once Amulius discovered the twins, he imprisoned Rhea and condemned the boys to be drowned in the Tiber River. It's said that destiny intervened because it was impossible for the men arranged to kill the sons to reach the actual riverbank since it had flooded. It's also suggested that the river god saved the twins by making it so they safely floated to shore, where a she-wolf, or lupa, heard them crying and cared for them. They were then found by the king's herdsman, who took them to his hut and gave them to his wife to nurse before raising them into their teens.
Wait. Isn't lupa the Latin word for prostitute?
Yeah, it's theorized that the farmer's wife, Laurentia, was actually a prostitute who found Romulus and Remus and brought them to the farmer, but I guess some aspects of this story will remain a mystery to us. After many years, once they were of age, the farmer told the twins the truth of where they came from, and therefore they returned to Alba Longa to avenge their grandfather, overthrowing Amulius and reinstating Numitor as king. They then returned to the countryside, as they were seized by an urge to establish a new city in the place they had been left to drown as infants, and were then brought up in. However, things don't always go as planned, and as Livy states, the brothers' plans for the future were marred by the same curse which had divided their grandfather and Amulius: jealousy and ambition. The twins had started arguing about the final location, with Romulus believing it should be founded on Palatine Hill, and Remus thinking it should be founded on Aventine Hill. After much debate, they couldn't come to an agreement and instead started building two separate settlements. Later, Remus went over the half-built walls of Romulus's city, and a furious Romulus committed fratricide, killing his own twin brother.
What? That's insane. You could never do that nowadays and become a king.
With Romulus having sole power, he finished building the settlement on Palatine Hill, and Rome, named after its founder, was established on the 21st of April, 753 BC, bringing us to the end of the story of Romulus and Remus and the founding of Rome.
Now it's time to move on to Rene Girard's mimetic theory of desire and the scapegoat mechanism. Girard's mimetic theory of desire is based around the concept that you desire something because somebody you know desires that same thing.
So you're saying that I only want another car because you want another car?
Put simply, yeah. Girard says that desire isn't natural, it's not human, it's animal, and that we don't even know what our desire is. We ask other people to tell us our desires. Essentially, we desire something because someone else does. And because they desire the same thing, this reinforces the original person's desire and can lead to a conflict between them. especially if there's only one of these desired object or thing. This leads us into our next topic, the scapegoat mechanism. What to do when there's a conflict. Brooke, do you know what happens when there's a conflict between two or more people because they desire the same thing?
No, I don't, Caity. Tell me.
Apparently you kill someone. When there's a conflict, people tend to choose the stronger and more convincing side. They then gang up on the other person because they feel convinced that the other is guilty. And to resolve this conflict that's been caused by having the same desire, the person has to be killed or driven away. They essentially have to be gotten rid of. This person is called a scapegoat, and this is the scapegoat mechanism. And always remember, as said by the man himself, those you associate with the most are the ones you fight with the most because they are both moving towards the same thing. And a scapegoat remains effective as long as we believe in its guilt. Now it's time to apply René Girard's mimetic theory of desire and the scapegoat mechanism to the story of Romulus and Remus. Romulus and Remus' story does indeed support René Girard's mimetic theory of desire and the scapegoat mechanism, as Romulus and Remus grow up together as their twins, meaning they spend a lot of time together and would likely desire a lot of the same things. As we discussed before, this means there was likely a lot of conflict between them. One of the main conflicts that occurred between them is their conflict over where they should found Rome. Both Romulus and Remus had the desire to establish Rome, they just couldn't decide on an area. Romulus wanted to establish it on Palatine Hill, and Remus wanted to establish it on Aventine Hill. Both argued using superstition to prove their location was the right one, but were still unable to come to a decision. One day during 754 BC, Remus decided to jump over the wall that his twin brother Romulus was building. This angered Romulus, so he ended up committing fratricide, making it so Remus becomes the scapegoat to resolve the conflict between the two, and making it so Rome was founded on Palatine Hill in 753 BC. By killing his twin brother, this also acted as a statement lasting decades, being that anybody who invades Rome will face death. As if the king can commit fratricide, he can commit any crime.
That concludes today's episode on the story of Romulus and Remus and the mimetic theory of desire and the scapegoat mechanism. But tune back in next week for another episode where we'll talk about St. Francis and poverty.